afternoon and welcome back to my channel, which is currently in between names at the moment. I was Uncle Brian's Consulting. Being a consultant to me makes you feel like you're an expert in something or many things, which in my case I'm not. I'm very knowledgeable, but I'm no expert. I do plan on keeping the same content structure on my channel. I want to talk about dating, relationships, marriage, finance. I want to be more of a coach. So this channel will probably be more of a coaching kind of I'll share experiences of my life, things I've learned over time, things I've used to help me get through some tough patches in life. So right now the channel is called Uncle Brian. I might leave it that way. I can't think of any snappy names to put on it other than what it is now. Like I said, I took the consultant off of there. This is just all around general life experience channel. I gear it more towards men. I mean, women are encouraged to watch and give feedback as well. I mean, I'll talk to them. But today I haven't recorded anything in a while. So I've kind of been gone for a while. I've been busy now that summer's in full swing here in Nebraska. I've been out on the boat fishing. Did take a week's vacation in May, right around my oldest son's high school graduation, which I did a video on that. His graduation, that is, not the fishing. I haven't had the GoPro out on the boat yet, which I'm gonna have to do that. Same with on the motorcycle. But anyways, I've been out boating and fishing, been out riding my motorcycle. Today I worked on diversifying my stock portfolio. So yeah, I've been busy. And then my oldest boy shipped off to the U.S. Air Force on Tuesday. His mom drove him down to Omaha, and then he actually did his final MEPS, and then he flew out Tuesday evening. And so he got down to San Antonio Tuesday night. And so it's been a busy couple weeks for me. So now I'm kind of back and situating back in a little bit. But today I want to talk about entitlement. And the reason I had to find a source of information to follow when I make this video. And so before I started the camera, I went on to Google and did an entitlement search, and I actually found a good article on WebMd, which I'm going to cover some of the points on here. I'm not going to read it word for word. I will link the article in the description box down below if anyone is interested in reading it. But a quick little backstory as to why I'm making this video is my youngest boy. He's 14 years old. He's a rambunctious, very masculine young man, very young, very masculine for his age, which I think is great. I'm kind of in the process of kind of trying to match his masculinity with his overall personality. There's things that I need to tweak with him and need to sit down with him and talk to him about. And so I had a backlash with him Sunday night. This past weekend we went up, and it was my oldest son's last weekend here in town. And so I took him up and we helped brand 65 calves with my mom and her husband on Saturday, and my youngest one was already up there. My youngest one is really big into rodeo and cowboy and what have you, which great. It's a good thing to get into. It could be worse. But now he thinks he wants to take a roping class, and he wants to go into bull riding and bronc riding, which, yeah, awesome. Hey, you go, kid. But when I look at things because I took my rose-colored glasses off a handful of years ago. I became red-pilled, and I took the red pill, and not only did I apply it in my marriage that did fail almost 2 years ago, but I apply it in life in general. Okay, I don't just take the red pill and then zero it into relationships with women. I take it out and I say, well, how can this benefit me? How can it well-round me as a man in today's society? So when he tells me he wants to take a roping class, it's going to cost money. And then he also wants to be a bull rider or a bronc rider. He asked me, a month or so back, Dad, what do you think about me being a bull rider? I said, well, I'm on the fence about it because you're on my health insurance, and bull riding is a very high risk activity. I mean, there's been young men that have been killed doing that sport. And so it's a high risk, high risk for injury. Okay. Not so much fatality or death, but you're going to get hurt. So, it's an activity that's got a high risk of injury. You kind of rank that up there next to the crab fishermen in the Bering Sea. You go out there with those guys and you go crab fishing, you got a high risk of getting hurt. So anyways, I told him, I said, well, I'm on the fence about it. I said, you're on my health insurance. And I said, if you get hurt, I'm going to have to pay 54% of your medical bills. And your mom has to pay the other 46. And it's in our divorce decree. She pays 46, I pay 54. And so I pay a little bit more than she does. And so when it comes down to, because I analyze everything by cost, what's this going to cost? What's it going to benefit me? So when I see a 54, when I see him out there bull riding and he gets hurt, I don't see no benefit to me for that, because I'm going to have to write the check for my 54% of the cost of his injuries while bull riding. And which to me, there's no benefit to that whatsoever. It's costing me money. He doesn't have to pay it because he doesn't have health insurance, but I'm stuck with the bill, and so is his mom. But his mom doesn't think in the same light as I do. And so he brought it up again on Sunday. I went out there to see my oldest boy, help him kind of get his car ready to put in storage. He comes out and visits with me about roping, about taking this roping class up in Scotts Bluff. And then if he can't do that, he wants to be a bull rider and a bronc rider. And I said, well, I flat out told him, I says, I'm not going to pay for roping class. And let me back that up just a little bit. When I got divorced, I got put on the hook for child support for my 2 sons, which, fine and dandy, I guess. It is what it is. But I have the attitude and probably more of the mindset that if I'm on the hook for child support, I shouldn't have to be paying for anything else, because my boys' needs are being covered by child support. And they're old enough to where they can have a job. My oldest one had a job for a little while before joining the Air Force, so he made his own money. The youngest one is 14. He's not legally old enough to go work at a local fast food restaurant per se, but he could go out and mow lawns, walk dogs, do odd and end jobs, for cash under the table if he wanted to. But he's got that entitlement mentality where he thinks, well, I'm going to do this, and you and mom can pay half, each pay half for it. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to help you pay for that. And then he says, well, if you won't let me take roping lessons, I said, look, son, I'm not telling you can't take roping lessons. What I will tell you you're going to have to do is you're going to have to get a job to help you pay for your roping lessons or class or whatever it is. And he, well, since you're not going to pay for it, I guess I'm going to be one or the other, and it doesn't matter what you say. Well, okay, whatever. We'll see about that. So, anyways, that's why I'm doing this video on entitlement mentality, because he's got a case of it. He's not the only one. Most, these younger generations, most of these people they have mentality entitlement. They think the world owes them everything. It's like they think they were born at a higher status where you will pay for this and that for me, and I will do what I want when I want. It doesn't matter what you say. I'm going to do it no matter what it costs. And so I found an interesting article on WebMd. We're going to cover it here right now. We all should know, for the most part, what entitlement is. It's I just gave you the brief example of my son. He's going to do this or he's going to do that regardless of what I say or don't say. It's like, well, I'm going to do it, and then you and mom can pay half. Well, no, that's not how it works with me. It's pretty much saying, well, you owe me. Well, no, I don't owe you shit. There's 3 things that I cover, and the same 3 things I grew up with. my needs were met. I had a roof over my head, I had food in my mouth, and I had clothes on my back. Those were the three things you need for survival in modern society. I mean, and you can get that about anywhere. You know, like my priorities in life are I make sure my needs are covered. I make sure I've got food in my mouth, I got a roof over my head, and I got clothes on my back. I practice that rule as a man, 45-year-old man today. And then what money I have left over from paying the bills, the rent, insurance, whatever, anything left after that, you know, I put into savings, I invest. And then if I have money left over, then I'll go spend it on whatever I want. But my needs come before my wants. And that'll be another video I'll cover when it comes to finance and stuff. We'll talk about finance and budgeting and covering those different things in a later video. But that's where how entitlement kind of disrupts that field for you. When people don't take their needs into discretion, they just assume, oh, I'm going to do this and I want to do it now. And we'll cover this. What is the sense of entitlement? You owe me. The entitlement mentality is defined as a sense of deservingness or being owed a favor when little or nothing has been done to deserve special treatment. It's the you owe me attitude. It's like, well, I'm going to do this and I want you to pay for it. No, that's not how that works. Entitlement is a narcissistic personality trait. It's not known exactly how this mentality develops, maybe due to social factors like, and they hit these on the head, they hit them to a T. Number one, the environment you grew up in. And number two, the way your parents treated you. Number three, whether adults solved your problems for you. Number four, how you are treated by authority figures. 1 and 2 go hand in hand. When I grew up as a kid, I had a job very young. I delivered papers. I had a paper route, and I got paid every week by the local newspaper. And if I wanted, my big thing was stereo components. If I wanted the latest and greatest in trend, in fashion jeans and shirts, I had to buy that stuff myself, and I did. So I had a job. My parents weren't going to go out and buy the Z Cavariccis or the Guess jeans or the Levi's. Hell, when I was a young man, I wore homemade clothes. My mom made my brother and I's clothes. Hell, she made my dad's clothes for a while. You know, the environment you're raised in has great effect on the world, on how you see the world around you. And it has great effect on your personal and professional relationships. And then it goes on to say, how does entitlement affect relationships and mental health? The long-term damage. When you believe you're entitled to better treatment than others, or that the rules don't apply to you, you're more likely to suffer in the long term. Hell, we see that on the news on a daily. When some criminal gets killed in the act of being arrested because he didn't do what he was instructed to do by law enforcement. You know, look at George Floyd. You know, you look at the environment now. You've got criminals being celebrated by the public because, oh, they were wrongfully killed by law enforcement. Well, if they'd have just done what they were instructed to do, you know, get down on your knees, hands behind your head, that's a simple command. You get when the cop tells you that, you do that. Okay? Long-term damage, conflict in relationships. There you go. Between criminal and law enforcement. If you don't do as you're told, the criminal is going to probably lose out in the end. Unhappiness, disappointment, depression. Well, yeah, you know, when people stop giving in to what you expect out of them or what you think you're owed, well, they're going to ignore you. And then now you're kind of on your own to figure this stuff out. And yeah, it can be depressing. And you'll be full of disappointment. I guess if you're working, your career may suffer too. Entitled people often interview well and can land leadership roles because of their confidence. However, they often lack team spirit and avoid problem solving in the workplace. Most of the decisions an entitled person makes are self-serving. This can quickly become apparent to their coworkers. And then, yeah, I see that. Moving on here. It talks about cycle of entitlement, which I'm not going to cover that. I think we kind of understand how people with entitlement mentality actually do work, how they do operate. But let's talk about overcoming. If you find you have a sense of entitlement, there are ways to change your mindset. Practicing gratitude and humility can help you become more responsible and a considerate human being. Go figure. If you're trying to overcome an entitlement mentality, start with the following tips. Rule number 1 is the golden rule. Practice treating others as you would like to be treated, regardless of social status. We're all human. Yeah, that's simple. That's simple. Treat others how you want to be treated. If you're going to treat somebody like an asshole, expect that person to treat you the same way. But don't get mad when it happens to you, because you need to understand how you project yourself to others is how they're going to project back to you. Okay, number 2, recognize that not all situations are unfair. If you're in a situation you think is unfair, pause for a minute and think about the greater good. Is it right that because you're paying tuition, you must get a good grade? Consider how the world would look if no one else had to work for their grades. Well, look at what we're going through today. Student loan forgiveness. These kids are going to school racking up massive amounts of student debt, and then they don't want to pay it back. Think they shouldn't have to pay it back. Whatever, you took the loan out, you got to pay it back. Respect. Use respect and kindness when interacting with others. Everyone is a human being with feelings and struggles of their own. Go easy on others. Be sympathetic to their needs. Again, no explanation there. And learn from your mistakes. Treat failure as a learning tool. And I think that's where a lot of a problem lies. A lot of people are afraid to fail. I'm afraid to fail at times too. I mean, we all are. But you have to get the mindset that failure is a learning tool. It's one of the best tools. And it's not the end of the world. Mistakes that were made can be corrected next time. Never stop learning and look for value in failure. Absolutely. And that was the end of the article. Very good cover there. I mean, it's not a very long article. It's a very good read, probably a 2-minute read. I'm going to link it down in the description box below. You can grab that article and read it. It's like I said, it's a minute or 2 read. If you got kids, I highly recommend, if you have a child that's struggling with this, I highly recommend reading that article and then sitting that child down and talk to him about entitlement mentality and explain the consequences of that mindset, and then hopefully get them back on the track. But more importantly, as a parent, you got to lead that child or your children by example. You know, they have to follow your lead. They learn from their parents, and they learn from their environment. So they not only do they learn at home, but they learn at school, and they learn from the world around them, from the community. So, but as parents, we have the greater effect, the greater influence over children. So it's very important to make sure you're engaged in their well-being and in their health. And that way, we can start getting back to a society where nobody feels that they're entitled to what everyone else has. So with that being said, I'm just getting this video. I mean, I think we covered it, simple, pretty simple. But anyways, have a great rest of your day, and toodles, I'm out.